Thank you for joining us for our second Nakba event and the screening of the incredible play Taha. I hope you enjoyed this play as much as we did when we brought it to Toronto 2 years ago. And we are very thrilled to have Amer Hlehel with us today to do a Q&A about the play. It was amazing to have him with us in Toronto, and it was really incredible to actually, after the play, we did receptions with Amer, and it was really entertaining to see the audience's reaction when Amer came out, and we introduced him, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's him? He's so young." So I think that's a testament to your incredible acting skills, Amer, and I'm glad that people can, have an opportunity to see you, the real life version of you. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for performing Taha virtually. And I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So one of Taha really was one of TPFF's highlights over the 13 years of our programming. And part of the reason for that is, in addition to being an incredible play, but it was a piece of art that connected with our audiences in a way that I have not seen a lot of things connect to our audiences in that way. And it was our Arab audiences and our non-Arab audiences. And what I thought really was very powerful about that play, we did have Nakba survivors watching the production, including my father, who never speaks about his experience. And for the first time ever, after you came out to mingle with the audience, um, you know, my father opened up and talked about his experience. And I noticed that others in the, older members of our audience who also had a Nakba experience, you know, did open up in such a unprompted way. And, it's a real testament to the power of the play and the story that you told. Um, did you have these reactions, or did you notice that the similar reactions in other productions in other cities when you put on the play?
Uh, Actually, what surprised me always that everywhere in the world, because we were touring, and we're still touring. Hopefully, we will be back to tour after the coronavirus will leave us or will keep us a little bit, safe. But we were in Singapore, Toronto, Australia, Sweden, Belgium, in the Arab world, in Palestine, and everywhere. It's like each time, I was really surprised just to discover that this play is working everywhere. And I asked myself why always, like, it's not the I what because what is good writing? I don't know. I just I for me, I think what is what is I did in Taha as writing wise, and I'm trying to do with everything that I do now since that time. It's to be political without being political, because if you come with your argument on stage, then you lose the art of the story and of how you deliver it. I think the story can tell itself by itself, because if you put this man, by accident he is Palestinian, and he passed all this circumstances in his journey in his life, and no matter where are you from, you know about these kind of, you can identify with a man losing his house, his love, his family, his shop, and his school, and then try to rebuild his life again and try to become a poet. So if it was a story from Singapore, or it was a story from Africa, it will be the same. It will be on the same effect on people. So I think this is what is I discovered what is special about Taha with the audience, that they don't feel that they need to pick up a side, because usually when you come to a Palestinian Israeli conflict in art, you always confront the people with the argument of, yeah, they did this to us and this is what happened. And I think in art forms, you should just keep the political argument outside and tell your human story, your deep human story, because the loss of of your the loss of your love story, it's much bigger than saying the borders should cross near Jerusalem and not inside Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is because this is a political argument that people can really learn where are they. And what I face always in Taha, which is at the beginning I thought this maybe is not serving the case as Palestinian, but then I discovered that most of the people that don't that they if they didn't know about the Palestinian case, they went and they learned about it and they started ask questions about the Palestinian case, which is for me this is the main thing that I can do and serve my case, my people's case. So this is the main issue. It's just to make people aware of the story. So I think good art, and especially political art, should avoid political issues and topics and argument. Then you will be political in a smart way without making people feel restlessly inside the venue or feeling like they don't agree with you or they have another opinion about it. It's a very simple story about a simple man who became a poet by the end. By chance, he is Palestinian and he passed everything that he passed in his life.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's a strong skill. It's a difficult skill to maneuver that, because, you know, while the human story did come out in Taha, the political piece, or, you know, it wasn't whitewashed, or it wasn't erased. It was still there as almost like another sort of background character. But the balance between the two really, you know, was incredibly effective, and I agree that's probably why it connected so well with so many different audiences. You know, just kind of stepping back, you know, what drew you to, you know, I mean, you know, there's a lot of Palestinian stories and a lot of incredible Palestinian artists, and, you know, what drew you to Taha in the first place, to tell this particular story? You know, did you meet with him, you know, before, you know, in conceptualizing this idea, or how did you actually conceptualize this idea to, you know, to what it became, you know, a production in a theater? If you could talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah, it's. I think it's kind of two stories. One of them is very personal, and the other is also personal, but in different ways. The first one is just because I'm coming from a refugees family. My grandfather was displaced, and our village Qadita, which is in north of Palestine, was destroyed, and all the family, most of the family, escaped and went to Lebanon and Jordan and Syria. And then my grandfather he snuck back from Lebanon to Palestine, and he rebuilt his life alone without his brothers and family, and in another village, which is quite the same story of Taha in the main lines. And but as you said about your father, which is I remember the conversation with him. My grandfather didn't tell us anything about Nakba and about what happened, and I don't know. And this is one of the things that I really regret, that I didn't push him to talk about it. And he passed away. He and my grandmother, before I could speak with him about it. So so I always looked for a material that can express this personal story But always when I tried to touch it, it was too personal for me. Just, because I think good art, it should be very personal and also very international. It should be your story, but you have to find a way to tell it to other people and make them also identify with it. Just not enough to have a good personal story. So, and I was looking for it all the time. And when I was in university, I read Taha by also mistake because of my brother Ala, he is a great writer. And then I fell in love with Taha, and always I was thinking about bringing Taha's poems on stage. I didn't know how, what form, how I can make it, because Taha, for me, he was the first poet in the Palestinian poetry scene to write about the personal pain, about the not the public, the collective one or the political one. It's about his own pain, which is, for me, this is the main thing, because as close to yourself, if you can be as close to yourself, then you are really close to the whole world. So this is what Taha did to me. So I remember I was in Stratford upon Avon in 2012 in the Royal Shakespeare Company, finishing the season that I did there. And again, I was talking with Ala, my brother, and saying, listen, I'm coming back to Palestine, and I need to do something with the Taha's material. And he said, listen, there is a biography about Taha, which was written recently. So you can read, maybe there is a story inside it. So I just, I ordered the book. I read it in 2 days. It's a very massive one. It's an amazing book called My Happiness Bears No Happiness in It, which is written by Adina Hoffman. And she spent around like 3.5 years with Taha to write the story. And then I discovered that Taha's story is my grandfather's story, but he took it to another step and he wrote poetry about it. And he just could explain it and express his feelings about it, which is what my grandfather didn't do. So, and then I said, okay, this is amazing, because the mixture between the two, because I want Taha as a poet on stage, and also I want my story to be on stage. And I felt like this is home. This is my story. This is me. I'm the result of the story of Taha. I know it. I know it in my body, even if I didn't experience it. So then I started the research. I read the book. I met the family. I didn't meet Taha, unfortunately. I just saw him in one evening. He was reading poetry. I was a young student, and I went to his funeral, and that's it. And we didn't meet. I didn't know him, but I know today the family, the whole family. The sons and the daughter and the brothers, everyone. I just I started to be one person of the family. So this is the way of thought. It was amazing. It's everything by chance. I don't want to say by mistake. It's by chance.
That's amazing. One thing, one question I've always been curious about. The audience might not know that you're also a very famous film actor, and I've loved your work in many films.
Thank you.
Personal Affairs. I mean, your character there was just like so lovable, and it was definitely one of my favorite characters in Palestinian movies. So, my question is, what made you decide to tell this story in theater format versus a film format? And in preparing for, in preparing for a film role or a theatrical role, is the preparation any different?
I think so. It's much harder and more expensive to do a film, as we all know, because theater is for poor people. But I consider myself until now, even I promised myself, like and when I become 40, I will start also write and direct for cinema. I didn't do it yet, and I'm almost losing my 40. It's towards the end, but I consider myself as a theater maker because this is what I breathe every day. This is my, this is me. I know myself in theater. I think of theater every day, every moment. This is the thing that envelop me. Just the thing that I experience in life. Everything I see, everything I experience, I always translate it to theater ideas or forms, which is for me, this is me. This is on stage, when I'm as an actor on stage. For me, this is life. This is the meaning of why I am here in this life. I'm doing this. And cinema for me, it's still something that I do. I love so much, but this is not what make me wake up in the morning and do things. So it's like an instinct. When I read Taha, I didn't think of a film. Now I'm thinking of a film. We are thinking to do it, to transform it to a film, because I think theater still it's a very special kind of community that's seeing theater, and cinema is another community that's seeing cinema, and it's maybe more more audience can see the story. So now I'm starting to think of doing this as a film. But when I start to think about an idea, I don't think in a screen frame idea or image. I always have an image on stage. This is my first, this is the instinct. It's not something that I lead to. So that's why it's theater. And I can tell you about why it's also a one-man show. Because at the beginning, I thought of it as because it's talking about Nakba, and it's talking about people, not about a place, and a lot of time. It's an epic. It started in the beginning of the 30s of the 20th century and ended by the 90s. And then I was thinking to make really a big production, theater production. But then slowly, when I started writing, I found myself writing monologues. And then I discovered that Taha was a storyteller and he was a poet. And then I discovered like loneliness is something very unique for poets. And being just as this man trying to create the whole world that he know and he experienced and put it like as a very intimate way, without any tricks, without any being a rich production of being very poor, very solid, very just telling the story honestly. I think I discovered this is the way to do it, because I couldn't write dialogues. And I was thinking of a big, massive one, and I couldn't write dialogues. I always wrote just monologues, and they said, okay, this is a one-man show. It can't be. This is where it's taking me to do. So yeah.
And the other thing
You
is,
can cut me whenever you want. I talk very, very
no,
much.
I love it. I'm loving every
So
moment
just
of this.
feel free to talk.
No, not at all. Like I'm loving every detail of how this amazing production has come to fruition.
Thank you.
The other thing is, did you always intend for there to be an English version of the play, or was it, because it was sort of asked for after you did the Arabic version? And, did you have to rewrite the play in English, or did you just translate it from Arabic to English?
No, actually, it meant to be in Arabic and for Palestinian audience, especially, and maybe for the Arab world. And I didn't think of the English version at the beginning. And then I discovered, but when I started to run with it in Arabic, I discovered that this is a very, very, very international story, and this is not something local. even it's so local. It's about a very specific place and time, but it's how it's told. It's not the way that everybody can understand the story. Of course, which is now I answer the second part of your question. Of course, in Arabic, a lot of things I didn't I didn't need to explain, like about time, place, history, context. I could just put Taha as a person, very pure every moment, and that's it, and without explaining anything. And then I discovered that it can't be translated like this to English, because people, like audience around the world, won't understand the context of the play, and then they will lose the contact with it. And then we were so lucky, me and Amer Hlehel, which is he is the translator and the director of the English version, and we have done a lot of works together before, and we will do in the future also. We were lucky that we were chosen to be part of the 2015 Theater Lab in Sundance Institute in Utah, in the USA. And then we went with a very amazing director called Che Yu. He is from Chicago. And we did 3 weeks of trying to bring the English version on text, that we are sure that this is the version that we can go with it on stage, and everybody around the world can understand the story without losing the dramatic aspects, and without being a lecture of history about Palestine, and without losing the pure I will call it the simplicity of Taha as a man and as a poet. So we were lucky to do this, and then we had kind of not the final, the semi-final of the of English draft, and then when we went to the rehearsal room, we reached that point, that what you saw just in moments ago.
That's amazing. And what are the, when we first announced Taha was going to be streaming at TPFF in Canada only, we did get quite a few messages saying, please, I'm in Europe, please, is there any way I can see this? I want my friends and relatives to see this play. So I was just curious, what's the next, hopefully when COVID passes and the pandemic passes, what are the future plans for the play? And will it continue to tour? Will it be adapted into a movie, or some other version, some variation of art form?
Yeah, there's some that they were planned for now in the summer, which is now just it's cancelled, and we don't know when it will be, so I can't talk about it. But hopefully we will do the tour in Sweden. We have a tour with Riks Theater, which is a national tour theater in Sweden, which will do around 30 performances around Sweden in Arabic and English. And I just want to thank them in the theater, because of them because the tour was booked already. So a live online streaming of the show, I thought it could be a problem with them. But thanks to them, they said, okay, you can do it, you can do the live show. So I must thank them for this. So this is for now, this is the future that we know about Taha, which is hopefully we can do it, and we will reach it, and the air will be open again, and then start again and try to rebook the places that we had before, and new ones.
Yeah, I really want as many people to see this play as possible, because it really is it's really something that everyone who can see it should go see it. So I really do hope it continues to travel and just dazzle audiences.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap up, I was wondering if we can maybe, pull the lens back a little bit, and if you can talk a little bit about the art scene where you're based in Haifa, and
Mhm.
what is the Palestinian arts and culture scene there? How is it coping, with the pandemic? But, just what that community, that Palestinian art community looks like. And then my second, or final question is, as a huge fan of your work, whether it be films, theaters, or other projects, if you can maybe shed some light on some of the work you're doing now, and any upcoming projects that we can look forward to.
Mhm. Of course. So now to the hard one, the hard question.
The hard one.
Listen, the art in Palestine, being a Palestinian, it's something really, it's a hard mission usually. So being an artist in Palestine, it's much harder because it's really weird in Palestine. Weird because the Palestinian art scene, like the people, the artists, are very vivid and they do a lot of work and very interesting one. And and we tour around the world and we do things in music, in theater, in cinema, and you can see there is a lot of productivity inside the scene, but it's not it's not how I say it, it's not safe scene because everything can collapse in a moment and you can't know if you can do what you do in 2 years or in 2 months sometimes. And because we lack any support, real support to do art like national art, because in Haifa, in Haifa, the Israeli government, because we are taxpayers, so we should take, you should get some money to do art. So they just shut Al Midan Theater, which is the main theater for the Palestinian society in the 48 areas. And in the West Bank, also theaters are collapsing because they don't have real national support, and we all rely on supporting from funds around the world, especially Europe. And if we don't get the money for small production, because we don't have really big institutes, because you can't run an institute in Palestine because there is no national support money for art, so you can't do it. So you have to be really small groups, people that they know how to work together and try to get fund from anywhere, everywhere in the world to try and make your and then there is also political questions about the fund that you can get. If now the EU, the European Union, they have new terms for the funding, and most of the institutes and the art and the culture, they don't agree, and they still didn't get the fund of 2020 because they disagree with some of the terms. But as I said, on the other hand, it's a lot of artists and a lot of things going on here. It's just and you can see like people working day and night, and they try to do everything just to stay to stay and feel part of the art scene. And also one thing that I can add here, which is because of now, let's say what we do now in Zoom, and just I sent you a file, and my and the file is shown on the internet, and everyone can see it at home. And now we do this conversation through Zoom, and people will see it everywhere. They can see it everywhere in the world. This made the world smaller, and yes, we feel now we can be part of the world, even we are here in this small hall in Palestine. We can be part, we can influence, we can put our input, and we can also see everything, and we can if this is very new. This is like 10 years ago. You couldn't do this. You can, if you want to make it, you need to go, you needed to go to New York or in theater or in London. But today I don't need to be in London to be in London. So I can't be in Haifa. So we discovered this. And these tools, which is a virtual world that we live now, and thanks to the virtual world that this pandemic made us, kept for us just at least two senses, like we can see and hear each other, at least. I think this was good for the Palestinian art scene, because we can use it, because we don't have the power to travel with like big productions or to show our work, or so we can really start our way or just enter the world through the screens, which is, I think, this is very important. And now to the easy one. I think, I don't know, there is a film, I can't talk about it anything for now. I just did a film with a very, very, he's very young director, but a very talented director called Amer Hlehel. He is from Al-Julan, Golan, and it's the first film, feature film that made by a director from the Golan, and Ashraf Barhoum also is there. I guess many of the audience and you know Ashraf Barhoum. And I did just open before the Corona my one-man show, the new one called Huta, but it's not a Palestinian story. It's around the Arab world and what happened the last 10 years, and it's not talking about a place specifically, but it's stories collected from Syria, Iraq, and Libya mainly. And we build a story about, and during it, I'm trying to understand how in a minute ordinary people can become kind of monsters. They can kill, they can eat sometimes each other, and what happened to us, and is this something unique for us as Arabs, or it's it's humanity, it's a human being thing, this is the case, I think. It's not about Arabs, it's about we human beings. So so unfortunately it was supposed to open. We were supposed to open the English version in May, now by the end of May, but we couldn't. So we'll see when we need to reschedule this. And I'm started a research now about the first theater group in Palestine, which is called Al Theater Group, and about the star of the theater at that time in the 30s and 40s called Iskandar Ayub Badran. And they did, it was the first kind of professional theater group in Palestine. And they did Shakespeare, Hamlet, Macbeth, and they did also Arab stories. And it was, and they worked with Yusuf Wahbi, one of the, the stars of the theater in the Arab world. And he was performing in Haifa with them. So I just started a research about Iskandar Ayub Badran, he is the main character in that story, and he was the famous actor of the Palestinian at that time. So, and I don't know what will happen with this and when, and in which kind of theater will be. But this is the thing that also I'm working on. That's it. And coronavirus, locked down. We are locked down.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
no office. I'm in my kitchen.
I think a lot of us are in our kitchens these days. Well, I'm thrilled to hear that you are so busy despite Corona. I am, really thrilled to know there's so many projects, in the works and coming down the pipe. So, we will definitely keep an eye out for that, and I look forward to seeing them all. And even more grateful in light of how busy you are with all these projects that you were able to take the time to spend with us and have a nice chat about your work and the play and what's to come. So thank you very much for doing that with us. It's always great to see you, and I hope we get to see you in Toronto again soon. And for those who are interested in more programming, as Amer said, we are living in a virtual world right now, and TPFF since March has been putting on our virtual pals program, where we've been live streaming live performances from a variety of amazing artists from around the world. We have a few more lined up in the month of May, so please check out tpff.ca to find out more about these upcoming programs and to find out more about what the festival is going to be up to. If you enjoy the work, please share it. And if you're able to, we would welcome a donation of any kind to help support the work and make sure that we can promote and share and bring these amazing works to Toronto and support Palestinian artists to create even more work. So thank you very much.
It's not just it's not just about, it's not just in Canada, because everyone can see it and everyone can enjoy it. So please, if you can, donate. And I agree, and I just and thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the play, and I hope to see you soon.
I
Really,
hope so too.
can meet soon. Thank you, then.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.